I'm Danny Quinn, and I just saw Metallica at Slane Castle. And while I'm taking some time out to catch up on some of the new releases, I also decided to take some time out to talk about my experiences seeing Metallica live. Saturday, June 8th, 2019. That was the day that my brother and I travelled all the way down to Slane Castle to see Metallica play live. It was quite an eventful day, all things considered. Get up, get breakfast, drive down the M1, meet my brother in Sprucefield Park and Ride before getting the bus down to Slane, dander around the town for a couple hours before going to the concert, face all 4 seasons in only a couple of hours, get a brief glimpse of the supporting acts, queue for drinks, which takes roughly about an hour because the crowd is just so fucking massive, try to find a suitable position where you can actually see the bands performing, watch Metallica play while semi-drunk, leave Slane Castle and head back to the bus, head back home late at night. It was a pretty hectic day. Now, Metallica is one of those bands that really doesn't need any introduction. They're easily one of the biggest and most successful heavy metal bands in the world, and are generally considered to be one of the big 4 of thrash metal alongside Megadeth, Slayer and Anthrax. Whether they're your favourite out of the big 4 or not, you can't deny that they have had a massive impact on the genre of rock and metal. So naturally, when I found out that Metallica was going to be performing at Slane this year and I had tickets to see them, you can bet your bottom dollar that I was pretty damn excited to see them. And they rock. They rock pretty damn hard. Even after 30 years, they are an absolute blast to see live. They played a mixture of many of their beloved hits like One, Enter Sandman, Nothing Else Matters, The Memory Remains, Master of Puppets, and For Whom the Bell Tolls, as well as a couple of tracks off the most recent album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, such as the Kindness sort of title track, Moth into Flame, Halo on Fire, and Spit Out the Bone, which really made my brother quite happy. He was really looking forward to hearing that song. And since this is Slane Castle we're talking about, I think it only makes sense that they'd play Whiskey in the Jar, and boy does it sound wonderful live. I was also quite surprised to see them performing Frantic, one of their songs off of Saint Anger, which is easily one of their most reviled albums, if not their most reviled. Nevertheless, it does actually sound quite good. If anything, I think it sounds a lot better live than it does on the fucking album. Granted, some of my issues with the song are still largely present. The lyrics are a bit dopey, and the song does go on a wee bit too long. Even if the song is one of the better ones off of Saint Anger, that's not saying a ton. Still, it was fairly surprising to see them play it live, as well as seeing the audience respond to it so favourably. I thought most people generally hated that album. Regardless though, they still sound amazing. Kirk Hammett is pretty stellar on the guitar, and James Hetfield is still one hell of a singer. Out of the big 4 metal, him and Tom Araya are easily my favourite vocalists. Both are absolutely stellar at spitting out lyrics with venom and fury, with a real sharp and quick flow, but at the same time I do have to give a slight nod to Hetfield. I like Tom Araya as a vocalist quite a lot, but Hetfield is not only a fantastic vocalist, but he's also one hell of a stage presence. As for Lars Ulrich, I know a lot of people like to take the piss out of his drumming, but it's largely serviceable here. There's none of that infamous snare bashing that plagued Saint Anger, but at the same time he's not necessarily flying off the hinges. But the main surprise for me was easily Robert Trujillo on the bass. I know a lot of people love to worship the hell out of Cliff Burton, but Trujillo I think does a really good job at filling his shoes. There's a really fun bit in the concert where Hetfield takes a back seat and lets Hammett and Trujillo take the stage, and they sort of jam around on the guitar and the bass for a wee bit, and they're great. Like, they're genuinely very great. And they sort of play around this wee medley of songs, and Trio especially shines in a very touching tribute to Cliff Burton, and the song Around just sounds absolutely incredible coming out of his bass. It was a very enjoyable show, and I thought it was a great experience as a whole being at Slane. I previously went there 2 years ago to see Guns N' Roses. Again, I went with my brother and I camped, and it was a good experience overall. It was definitely an interesting experience, but I did feel somewhat ill-equipped for it. I'm not gonna lie. I was very out of my element there, but this time around, I felt a lot more comfortable. I felt a lot more prepared for it. I felt like I was a lot more ready to get down and dirty. It was a very crowded show too, which really doesn't surprise me, but what does surprise me is just how crowded it was. And personally, I'm quite hit and miss when it comes to crowds. Sometimes I can manage them, sometimes I can't, but this time I could manage them, so it didn't detract from the experience at all. If anything, I'm just glad I had so many people to share my experience of seeing Metallica with. Nevertheless, it was one hell of an experience. Metallica really do put on a great show. I don't think I've ever been this close to onstage pyrotechnics before, but my god, I could feel the pyrotechnics and the fire from coming all the way from where I was standing. Like, I felt like I was very close to the stage, even if I necessarily wasn't. And of course, the show ended in spectacular fashion as they played Enter Sandman and closed out with a large fireworks display. Granted, I do have a few nitpicks about it. I personally wish they played Welcome Home Sanitarium, Fuel, or The Day That Never Comes, but again, that is me being a little bit nitpicky, and I understand that there is a bit of a curfew. They kind of had to wrap the concert up at around 11, unfortunately, so... And again, I understand that they had to cut those songs for time constraints, but I think it really does speak volumes to Metallica's discography, that they have so many great songs that they could have honestly played live, that they did have to cut a few songs from it. Which is a bit of a bummer, but sometimes it just has to be done, I guess. It's also gotta be really saying something whenever I think the supporting acts are almost on par with Metallica themselves. I thought they were very damn good as well. Granted, I only managed to see 2 of them. I didn't get to see Fine Club or Bokassa, so I can't really give my opinion on them. But I did get to see Stiff Little Fingers and Ghost. First off, we'll talk about Stiff Little Fingers, the Belfast punk band, who were an absolute blast. Granted, I couldn't bloody see them for much of their performance, but they sounded great. I haven't listened to a lot of their music, but I have heard Alternative Ulster, and I think it's a fucking great tune. So I definitely think I'm gonna check out more of their music somewhere down the line. I definitely think I'll like it. As for Ghost, the Swedish metal band, they were definitely a lot of fun to see live as well. I'm sort of in the same boat with them as I am with Stiff Little Fingers. I've not listened to a ton of their music, but what I've heard, I like. And they sound awesome live. I've always quite liked musicians with a sense of theatricality about them, and Ghost definitely fits the bill when it comes to that. I mean, for fuck's sake, one of their band members is dressed up as the fucking Pope. And a metal song with a saxophone solo is definitely not something you hear every day. That was pretty awesome. Overall, the experience of seeing Metallica live was a truly spectacular one. I honestly do think it ranks as one of the best concert-going experiences I've ever had, right up there with Iron Maiden and Queens of the Stone Age at Belsonic 5 years ago. Wow, 5 years ago? Has it really been that long since I saw them? Wow, where's the time go, honestly? And since then, I've seen plenty of great artists. Muse, Noel Gallagher, Biffy Clyro, The Prodigy, Guns N' Roses, Green Day, and they've mostly been great, but Metallica, man, they got it. They still got it. In their own words, they're absolutely hardwired. Not necessarily to self-destruct, but they're definitely hardwired. So, that was something slightly different. I don't really talk about music on this channel very much, which is something I really want to rectify. Because I do really like music. I love talking about music. Almost as much as I love talking about films. And as you can see here, I even play a wee bit of guitar. I'm not very good at it, but I can always get better, I guess. And I thought this would be a nice way to break things up as I'm trying to catch up on some of the films I missed while I was over in Poland. I've just recently seen the new Godzilla, I've also seen Men in Black International, and I'm also hoping to see Dark Phoenix, Ma, Rocket Man, and a couple of other films that are currently out in cinemas. Look forward to seeing a couple more videos coming your way in the next couple of weeks or so. Only time will tell what I get to see and what I don't get to see, and what I get to review and what I don't get to review. Alright? Thank you once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment, maybe even subscribe to my channel while you're at it. If you want to see me talk about music a little more often on this channel, do let me know in the comments. I'd definitely be happy to hear your feedback on this, as long as it's somewhat constructive. And as usual, if you want to follow me on social media, or support me on Patreon, or check out my website, links are below down in the description. And until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.